Starting off, I guess my first question, do you think there's many types? Or is there, the gray, you know what I mean? Like one kind, I feel like that's very limiting.
I believe there has to be many types, right?
That's my thought.
Yeah, there's no way there's just one type of alien. As big as the entire universe is, there's no way there's just one. And even then, there's the concept of the multiverse.
That's true, too.
We're not the only universe is the idea behind that. So, yeah, there has to be multiple. There's no way we're even the only life forms on the planet. So, or in the universe, rather.
Yeah, no, okay. Yeah, so we're on the same page there for sure.
Yeah, definitely. So, what do you think they look like? Do you think they're depicted how they are in movie? Like, do you think they're like they are in movies?
I think they're small.
Little?
Yeah. Or well, I mean, if you kind of just think of, and again, I have no expertise in interdimensional or galactical travel, but when you think about like the force that your body or whatever, I mean, again, though, the technology, I suppose, can counteract that, but when you're traveling like that, it's not like you got to have a lot of muscle mass. That's going to take a lot of that off.
You just need a lot of brain to be able to do that, to travel in such a way.
So my thought is they're small.
But I think they're multiple sizes. Because speaking in the sense of aliens, we're talking about every alien.
Ooh, I guess.
An alien is just something that's an extraterrestrial being that we aren't aware of. It's unknown to us. It's alien to us.
Are the majority bigger than us?
I would hope not.
Yeah,
I hope they're not bigger and smarter. If they're smaller, we stand a fighting chance as long as we can see them.
But to be honest with you, kind of like the nerves of that, like the fear of that kind of just gets subsided because let's be honest, if they wanted to, we would already be gone.
Yeah,
I mean, at that point, it's kind of
not even a fighting chance. So,
right.
Are they our enemies?
Sure hope not.
No, I don't think they are. I think if aliens were our enemies, it'd be over with.
But how... It's hard to generalize that too, though, because
But who knows how smart all aliens are? There could be aliens that aren't even as smart as us.
True.
Because there's plenty of life forms on this planet that aren't smarter than us. So.
And some that are
much smarter.
Yeah, no doubt, no doubt. One thing that's crazy to think about with aliens, what do you think about their food source? How do they get energy?
It depends on their planet.
So product their environment kind of thing.
Let's say, for instance, they're on Venus, which is an extremely hot planet with a lot of gases and such. Say there's aliens on there we don't know about because we landed a rover on there, but it melted. So
did we? Or are you just saying that for hypothetical?
We did.
Really?
No, we did. Yeah, we've landed.
Wow.
We've landed a couple rovers on Venus. There's a handful. There's like some in the 60s.
What?
Yeah, it's crazy. But
Sweet.
They melted. So, if there's aliens on Venus, they're a product of their environment.
So they're like lava monsters.
That's actually, yeah, more or less. But they would have like a tougher shell that prevents the heat from getting to them and actually harming them.
Interesting.
So their food would be what's in their environment. The gases. Maybe they get energy from the gases. Maybe they're beyond needing to eat for energy. Maybe they don't even need to sleep.
So it's like walking propane tanks, kind of? Harder shell, gases, absorb...
kind of.
No, I don't know. That's crazy, though. I didn't know that they put rovers on there and that they melted. That's insane.
Yeah.
But none of that makes sense. I guess it's kind of strange to even kind of conceptualize what that would be, but kind of more like
you can't fathom
a 360 shelled turtle with... I was going to say steel, but that wouldn't work.
It's hard to conceptualize that because there's so many options in the entire universe, and there's other planets that I'm sure have water in them or have ice layers or things such as we do. So it's hard to make a concept of what an alien might need in order to survive.
Yeah.
Because what we need to survive isn't even the same as dinosaurs from millions of years ago, or
gerbils.
Things in the water.
No doubt.
We don't eat in the same way that other things do.
That's fair.
There's omnivores, there's carnivores. So
would it be fair to assume, or at least question, that there would be more food source required for the more intelligent?
That's fair to assume, though, because
like the ones on Venus could probably survive on rocks.
Yeah, right. They're the cavemen still. They're still developing through time,
Well,
so they're
fire.
still cavemen. So, but whereas us as humans, we need a lot of sugar for our brains. Our brain consumes a lot of sugar, and that's one of the main things that helps it to actually go is healthy forms of sugar, like fruits and such. So what an alien would actually need in order to use their brain power is a lot of how their body functions, depending, because what their body could actually use to function would be way different. They could need carbs just for a thought, because it's how we've evolved through time is essentially what it boils down to.
It definitely seems appropriate this early in that we're talking about food for the brain here at the Brain Buffet.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Want to make sure we reference that real quick. So yeah, no, that's interesting. That's good. You know, kind of crazy to try to visualize or conceptualize what other ones would be, because you really got to break that ego mind of thinking that they're going to look like us.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Because realistically, they won't.
Yeah,
they're
likely than
be to their planet. They're going to look how their planet wants them to look, because gravity and such, essentially, because gravity is different on every planet. So essentially, like when we go to the moon, we actually weigh a lot less on the moon because there's a lot less of a gravitational pull. So
makes sense.
They can be shorter because their gravitational pull is pulling them down and keeping them shorter.
Right. Gotcha. Or taller because there's less gravity.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
So with the vastness of potential habitable Earths out there, and even more if you consider the idea that they can form in their own environment, even not for what we think is habitable, those that are nearly as the Earth, do you think, I mean, they would have to assume that they're a product of their environment, they would kind of relatively somewhat look like us to a degree?
It's not impossible, but it's also... that's coming
to a degree.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
I mean, of course,
there's a good chance that they have fingers and thumbs, and they obviously have a face. But if they have eyes, that's subjective. Because maybe they don't need eyes to travel. They go off of sound.
Or maybe smell or something.
Yeah, something like that.
Vibration or something, or some higher brain power.
They just know.
They just know.
They just know.
They just, whatever they visualize is what the outside is for them.
Yeah, exactly.
No, that's crazy. That's interesting to think about it. Definitely want to make sure, Homo sapiens are special. We're unique. But
so it's possible. Yeah, sure. They could look like us. Nothing is stopping that from realistically happening. Do they look like us? Are they our twins? No.
Yeah.
No, they're not going to look just like us. There's not going to be another one of me that looks like an alien.
But then you talked about the multi-universe earlier.
But if there's an alternate universe, maybe there is another me. But that's going down a deep hole of theoreticals. So.
For sure.
Because realistically, the universe just goes on.
That's even hard to even conceptualize too, because whenever you think you get to the end point, there's more.
Yeah.
There's more. That finish line is...
We keep discovering more. We just continue going on and on. There hasn't been an end that we found, because we're sending out signals to see off of reflection that comes back to us, and it takes so much time for it to get back to us. So we can only discover at such a rate, just based on how the speed of light works.
True. And then, that's the other thought, is you're talking about travel. How do they travel?
Yeah, because that's also, are they able to actually, not all of them have the knowledge of being able to space travel.
So some people are still in Flintstone cars.
Yes. Not all of them are able to go to another planet. Even we haven't actually gotten to another planet yet. We've gotten to the moon, which is space travel.
They did land a rover on Mars. I don't think necessar's been on Mars.
I don't think a person's been on Mars. I don't think there's been a human on Mars yet. To our knowledge, yeah, sure. There's also a chance that there's been a human on Pluto.
That's true too. Don't forget about Pluto, guys. Pluto cannot be missed out in this situation.
Yeah, I'm not letting them take that from us. But yeah, can they space travel? Some of them, absolutely, yes.
Is it like see, this is where it gets strange too, though. Is it all engineering and mechanical based? I mean, I could have a hard time believing that they're still doing like, fire propulsion kind of thing, or like, at what point does the consciousness get involved?
Yeah, I mean, there could be a point where it's literally their bodies that make them travel. Well,
so like
also that's kind of like it's almost like an out of body experience. That's kind of like us traveling. If anyone's ever had an out of body experience, and that's very similar in a sense, except they're taking their body with them. Yeah.
So does it rematerialize, or does it just kind of like
they just
zap?
Oh, yep, there we are.
There we go. Hey,
over
that'd
there
be
now.
Awesome.
That would be sweet. That'd be super cool. That'd be such a way to travel until you accidentally flick just wrong and you end up in like somewhere with no oxygen. You're standing in the void of space
trying to flick again.
Yeah, I can't. There's no sound in space. Got him.
That's crazy. That'd be crazy.
Yeah. So I mean, a lot of them probably have like something they're traveling in. Because that's a security.
Right.
I'm sure there's something out there that maybe has discovered the ability to do that.
Well, then you'd like get into the idea of like, I would suppose like if it's a physical casing of some sort, it would have to be, anti-gravity based, or that's at least the only thing that I could think of that would be relative to it. But then again, though, I have no idea. I am not an expert in anti-gravity or any sort of travel. Yeah. I have driven for a few years, but that's about it.
Not quite what we're looking for here.
No.
Driving a car on the street. But yeah, I don't know. How
That'd
do you
be crazy.
think about how someone else travels?
Right.
It's hard to even think about how a rocket goes through space, essentially. Like, thinking about Elon Musk right now building spaceships to land people on Mars. Even that is insane to just think about.
Recyclable ships.
Yeah.
The goal is to be able to have a ship that can repeatedly launch and land with
which he's done successfully.
upkeep.
Well, I think nine times or something like that. He's done it a handful of times. He's landed a ship a handful of times.
And that's the big thing to space travel. It's space travel. Getting in space and traveling throughout.
Yeah.
But then again, though, like, what do you do on Mars?
Yeah, for sure. He wants to build a colony on Mars, but how?
Greenhouses and stuff. I don't know. I couldn't stand living in like a suit.
Yeah, it's essentially you would have to start out in the suit, and then but how do you bring all the materials to build these greenhouses?
You would
to
legit
live in?
be Sandy Cheeks from SpongeBob.
Yes, literally on Mars.
That'd be
which has kind of always been the concept for original space travel. That's always sort of been the thought, is that we would have like a bubble that we would live in, even like it. Goofy, but Futurama. Think about.
Yeah.
I don't know if you ever watched Futurama.
I've seen bits and pieces for sure.
They travel to different planets, and a lot of times they have bubbles that they go into for like they're getting onto another planet. So
interesting. Maybe Futurama showing us a little bit of what it could be like.
Yeah, for sure. It's possible.
Always reference to your cartoons for answers.
Yeah.
Or at least more questions. How about that?
Yeah.
More questions. But
so how do you think an alien would travel? Do you think it would be through a spaceship of sorts?
So within their own planet, I don't know, but what would be like an anti-gravity tube thing stream where you pop into a pod and then just go where you want, and then it kind of shoots you to where you need to, and it kind of has everything worked out to where there would be no collisions or anything like that. Maybe.
Or what if they don't need to travel?
Oh.
What if they didn't need to travel to get to the other side of the planet? They just have the power to be connected through each other. So say, for an instance, if I were to have a relative that lived in Australia,
You just swap bodies?
I would just, no, not necessarily, but we would just have the connection.
Okay.
I would be able to spend time with that person through the brain.
Essentially telepathy in a way.
Yeah,
To be able to have a conversation and be able to feel that connection and to have that.
Yeah.
Huh. That is actually seems quite, well, again, we're not experts in any of this, but it seems relatively likely because it's hard to think that anything further than this would still consider some sort of physical expectation, and that kind of takes it out of the 3D realm idea because there's a connection still involved, but it doesn't involve like literally physical contact.
Yeah, absolutely.
Or at least not physical contact in what we perceive as physical contact.
Yeah, I agree. So, I mean, even us as humans are getting to that point slowly. You think about how we are with cell phones, laptops, and stuff. We can video call somebody. Sure, your body isn't physically there, but you can see the person. You can visualize that person. You hear their voice coming through the phone. Sure, it takes a piece of technology in your hand to do it, but we are slowly moving towards that point further in technology.
So the further question would be is, do you think there would be a potential possibility to do that without a physical tool?
Absolutely.
I
think so. I think it will, the next step, which is, I don't know, is the brain chip.
Oh, so like the Elon Musk Neuralink kind of thing.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Would you do that?
I don't know. That's scary.
Yeah.
That's scary because
I saw they put it in a monkey and he was playing video games with his brain.
I could see that.
Crazy.
But that's scary because who are you giving control?
Exactly. Who's in control of what they can do? I mean,
yeah, and it's not to say someone can't hack it.
Absolutely.
Everything's hackable. No matter what anyone says, someone can hack something.
I heard somebody tell me about they had a car that they had it through like a rent-a-place or something, and it had a chip in the engine. And I'm assuming they didn't make the payment or something like that. But literally, the car just like died on the side of the road.
Yeah.
So if they could do that with a car, could you imagine what they could do to your brain?
Yeah. What is there going to be like something in there that just like shocks you and you're done? That's it.
Wow, that would be. I don't know.
But we're moving to that point, though, where we're developing that connection.
That still involves a physical tool, though.
Yes, it does, which will help us evolve.
Can our brain power and our consciousness maybe provide that task? Maybe.
With evolution.
Okay.
With the ability for us to grow as humans in advance. Sure. Will it happen in our lifetimes? Or our kids' lifetimes? Or our grandkids' lifetimes? No.
Well, I feel like if you slowly get away from like the phones and stuff like that and actually have more communication with people, that would probably be more likely. Because even on a weird scale today, I mean, obviously there's just coincidences involved with this too. And, again, we're no experts. But when you have that moment, like you're thinking about somebody, and then all of a sudden they call you or something like that, or like you're say something or think of something at the same time, and it's kind of like one of those serendipity moments. But who's to say that there's not already some sort of weird connection that is already there? It's just we're not fully aware of how to utilize it. It's just kind of happen in the background.
Have you ever been sitting there and you thought about someone and that person called you?
Yeah. Not a lot, but I've happened before.
It's happened, yeah. It doesn't happen to me a lot, not even often, but every now and then it'll happen. I'll be thinking of someone and be like, it'd be cool to have a conversation with that person, or like, I wonder how they're doing. And then all of a sudden, bam, they're calling me.
Yeah.
So that's cool. Like, I think we are able to develop that connection with another person where we can share our wavelengths.
Okay.
Essentially, it's not super advanced.
No.
It's beginning stages, which is fine because that's still huge.
For sure.
That's still huge. That's a lot of brain power.
Even just the awareness of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that amount of brain power would definitely take a brain buffet, that's for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Lots of fruits.
Lots and lots and lots of fruits.
Yeah.
But
so yeah, I think aliens could potentially connect in such a way.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, well, it makes sense in where we're getting at into this context.
Yeah, yeah. So they have been, it's an assumption, but they've been around for who knows how long. Right. Millions of years in a singular alien. Not one like, not me personally has lived for 1 million years, but like a species has lived for 1 million years essentially.
Right.
And has just continued evolving their brain through time. So I'm sure there's the possibility of them getting to that point.
Is it fair to consider that there might be some species that evolve quicker due to potential or lack of governing bodies?
Sure. That's exponential growth, essentially.
Yeah.
Which we can even say as humans we've been experiencing. You
True.
think about where we were in the 1800s to where we are now is ridiculous. The amount of growth that we've had, we never would have thought that. Even when back in the 90s when we were born, even the thought of being able to call someone just from a cell phone it's still kind of crazy.
It is. Just imagine if we would have actually gotten the Tesla coil.
Yeah, for sure.
That would have been 100 years of who knows what.
Yeah, but that was shut down. But the exponential growth of our species has become insane because we started off extremely slow. Like, there was sword and shield battles for hundreds of thousands of years.
I would question
maybe tens of thousands.
I would question in the sense that more so the technology has the true exponential evolution growth.
Yes,
where
I wouldn't
we as
say
species
humans
maybe have been relatively a little bit stagnant for a period of time.
I could agree with that. Yeah, for sure.
But before that, there was definitely an exponent. I mean, again, not experts in archaeology or anything like that, or human history, but relatively safe to assume.
Yeah, definitely. The technology has been growing, I suppose. Not so much as us as humans.
I mean, dude,
we still have disposable thumbs. We still have toes.
For sure. And we just literally talked about Neuralink as far as a chip in the brain.
Yeah, for sure. So it's more
crazy.
so technology, but I don't know. We still have wisdom teeth. What's the purpose?
Dude,
we haven't evolved from wisdom teeth yet.
Dude, I'm slowly there. Weird fact, I was born with 3 wisdom teeth.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I still haven't had any come through, so I'm not sure. I might be okay. Maybe I wasn't born with any. That'd be amazing.
See,
that'd be nice. That'd be evolution.
We're already evolving.
Yeah.
We're already evolving.
Yeah. So it's growing to that point, but I think, maybe us as humans have been stagnant. But we have so much technology now, we're able to build off of that, so it grows quicker.
I feel like there's been a definitely a portion of people who have a advanced intellectual knowledge and growth as far as that goes.
I agree.
But on a mass general scale, it's probably been a little stagnant.
Yeah, definitely. Yep.
But hopefully this podcast, the Brain Buffet, can provide some food for thought for you to ask your own questions.
Yeah, maybe.
But yeah, no, that's interesting. That's fun. It's fun to think about. I love those thought experiments, just like, the what ifs. The what if, what if it is this? What if it's that? But then you're still answering the question to what you know in this existence that we have been absorbing and what we kind of know from this,
Yeah, but luckily we've had the ability to look at past civilizations and see what they've done and such, and we can learn from them.
Partly, we still don't know what the pyramids and stuff are for.
No, absolutely not. But let's be real. The Egyptians are insane.
Yeah, no doubt.
They're the most advanced civilization that we know of.
That definitely, for the most part, that we know of. I mean, Graham Hancock kind of goes into some crazy ancient civilization, but that kind of its own thing. I'd Google him if you haven't already. But no, the Egyptians. The questions are insane.
Yeah, there's too many. There's only so much you can possibly know because they're one of the few civilizations that actually wrote down. They logged what they were doing. They logged their existence.
That is true. Yeah.
There's not a lot of civilizations that did that, so we can't even learn those. So sure, there may be something before that. Say you want to go back to like ancient Sumerians, which those are also extremely smart people. They have lost languages and such, but like, who's to say they weren't smarter? But they didn't log it. We don't know.
Or did their logs just not survive their doomsday?
That's also a thing.
And the Egyptians just, whether they learn from previous doomsdays of those, as if we refer to the Egyptians, they had a historical period that they might have, don't know, I'm not an expert in Egyptian, but they might have had a concept of 100 years or 200 years or 300 years, whether that was oral tradition or not, or written down, but they knew what other civilizations didn't survive and their literature didn't survive from, and maybe they just kind of learned from that, and that would still couple on the idea that there's still this growth of idea.
Yeah, absolutely. Most of all their writings were inside. So maybe that's what they did.
Oh, that's
how they
true.
protected it. Maybe
That's true.
civilizations before that they're writing their stuff down, but it's on the outside.
Yeah.
The weather's eroding it.
Interesting.
So the Egyptians are wild. They're hard to grasp as well. It's hard to grasp a lot of anything that's not happening right in front of you. You can theorize, but you can't truly know, can you?
Well, I'm sure there might be some people out there that have done enough, at least on-person, in-field research or not, to have at least a educated idea. But I'm not comfortable enough to say that I know, because again, we're not experts.
No.
But I do have a question. Do you think the aliens had a better do you think the Egyptians had a better connection with the aliens than potentially we do?
I think that's very fair to assume.
Maybe they were less violent.
Yeah. I could very well agree with that. I could see that being a thing. There's thoughts that the pyramids are placed in such ways that it was to allow for connections with aliens and to actually speak with aliens and such. So, not to mention, they brought granite from other countries.
Yeah. So,
I'm pretty sure they viewed that as like a power source, I believe. But I think they could have definitely had a better connection, especially with the things that they did in their time. It's who's to say they weren't the aliens?
Ooh, that's an interesting thought.
It's not impossible.
So, well, Egypt still exists, but then maybe the core of that civilization left, and then maybe the entirety of it.
Yeah, possibly.
It's a good
For
thought.
what reason? Who knows?
It's a good question. That's a good question.
Yeah.
Maybe they were just sick of this place and like peaced out. Who knows?
Yeah. I don't know. Maybe things were getting too wild for them on the planet. Maybe they were starting to realize other things going on over there that they didn't like. So they're like, okay, we'll just create our civilization elsewhere. Earth isn't it.
A different planet?
Yeah.
What if could they create their own planet?
Maybe.
It's a interesting question.
I don't think it's impossible to create a planet. That would take an insane amount of efforts, considering we can't even get to them, and we're trying so hard.
True. That is very true.
And if they're creating their own planet, that's also kind of playing the role of God to an extent.
That's a good point. Well, I guess the difference is if they're creating it from their own technology or if they're creating it by utilizing the tool or the resources around them.
Yeah.
You know,
right.
If they use like some sort of a tractor beam and it just pulls all this mass together and it kind of can form the way that they want it to,
yeah.
You know? Oop.
So you say Egyptians creating their own planet. Let's broaden that into aliens. Do you think an alien can create its own planet?
Ooh.
Do you think that this civilization of aliens could create this mass and put all of their needs onto it? And it will begin an orbit around their sun, and they'll be able to give it moons and everything. Do you think that's possible?
I mean, I literally just said the Egyptians potentially had the chance for it. So if we're broadening it to aliens, I'd have to say my thought is yeah. No, that is crazy though, because you could essentially take care of everything that you needed, and whether that's your advancement in that knowledge of what you're working with, and I don't know, that's hard to even kind of conceptualize. But no, absolutely. I mean, take care of all the needs, and you wouldn't have to struggle to survive.
Yeah. So instead of like a family moving to their own neighborhood, I'm going to build a planet and I'm moving over here.
I'm sure every alien species has an Elon Musk.
Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely. And there is probably 10 million times smarter. Because we think of Elon Musk as being so much infinitely smarter than like you and I per se, because he's a genius.
He's definitely a genius, but I think his big tools, besides for just being a genius, is one, having courage just to do what his thoughts are telling him to do.
Oh yeah,
and
he
the other one is
care.
just putting forth the hard work. I mean, it's ridiculous.
And he has the money. To be fair, the money is a big thing.
It helps.
It helps. I'm not saying that's what created him or what gave him the power or the desire to do the things he does.
Right.
Not at all.
No, I mean, he kind of
but
expressed quite a bit.
Having the money absolutely helps.
It's a good motivator.
If you come to an investor and say, "Will you invest in me building a spaceship? I'm going to put people on Mars."
Yeah.
The investor's going to spit in your face.
That's true. That's true.
They don't want any part of that.
I wouldn't have a very good time with that. But then again, though, you don't necessarily. I mean, his resume, what PayPal, Tesla,
right?
You know, so even that in its own sense kind of speaks volumes. But no, the money definitely helps for sure.
Yeah,
for security.
So
financial backing.
I mean, it's not like he started with $1 billion. He built himself.
Yeah,
but he built himself to such a point that the money absolutely is helping him get to where he is, which.
And
that's how it works.
The best part about Elon Musk is he's got a sense of humor.
Yeah, he's an awesome person. Let's be real. He's an amazing person.
Makes him a little bit more real, you know what I mean? Instead of like that out of touch figure.
But let's be real, he's an alien.
Probably. Maybe.
Yeah.
What do we know? We're definitely not an expert in aliens or Elon Musk.
But he's an alien.
Maybe that's why he wants to get off this planet so much.
Yeah.
He wants to get off and go to his maybe is he from Mars?
It's his mother planet.
Oh, maybe he's just going back home. He's got a base dome.
Maybe Mars had a mass extinction, and that's why it turned into a deserted wasteland. And it's essentially a desert now. And he wants to go back. He retreated here. He was one of the few that made it.
Well, him himself, or like generations, or does he just got like a skin cloak on?
Maybe he's like 1 million years old. Who knows?
Maybe that's why he's so smart.
I mean,
Elon Musk living in a underground space dome in his home on Mars would that's quite something interesting to think about. That.
Yeah, who knows what that's a wild thought, but yeah, who's to say we didn't all come from Mars though?
Seeded from it, kind of thing.
Yeah, like maybe that was originally our first planet.
Maybe Venus just hasn't cooled down enough to form its own sense of Earth.
Or
habitable
we've
Earth.
Been slowly cooling down, moving away from the sun and such. Maybe we were in Venus and we lived there, and they decided it's too, or something happened in Venus.
We probably
and it had
blew
to
it
melt
up in
down,
nukes.
and we had to move. Yeah, it was nukes. Let's just say nukes. But let's say we had to leave. Maybe we're like, okay, maybe Mars is the next best bet. They jumped over Earth instead, and like, all right, we'll try out Mars, see what happens. Maybe it was slightly too cold for them because it's slightly further away from the sun. And they're like, no, this isn't the one. So, but they lived it out. They worked it out because they didn't know if there's another option. So they tried.
Gotcha.
Then that turned into a wasteland, and then they ended up here. Which, think about it, that's kind of what we're turning Earth into.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. And then, once all the Pluto people died, they just took Pluto off the whole planetary system.
Which isn't fair.
It's not fair.
No, not at all.
We appreciate you, Pluto people.
Yep, we love Pluto.
No, that's interesting. I mean, hey. So we've already figured it out. Did we lose the information, or is it, not available?
It's being withheld.
Or did it reset? Like, was that the Egyptian time? And then, something happened? And then... Huh. Yeah, no, that's definitely something you can go down, for sure.
Yeah, crazy rabbit hole.
What about indigenous people? Here on Earth?
Yeah.
Could you imagine if they saw a UFO? I mean,
I'm pretty sure they think that, like, airplanes and such are UFOs. Like, that's their thought process of it, because they don't know.
A helicopter's got to be scary.
I watched this one documentary where these people tried to visit an indigenous island or whatever. Mm-hmm. There's like 1,000 people on the island that they estimated, and they ended up throwing spears at the boat that was coming in to visit them or whatever, and they killed a couple of the people.
What? That's
because there's this boat coming. Like, they don't know who these people are, and they ended up like banning anyone from going to not the indigenous people, but like governments banned anyone from going to that island. They just want them to live their life in peace. So essentially they view us as aliens. Yeah,
no, that's not the most welcoming arrival. That's for sure.
Some people running in on a boat.
No, I mean, it's absolutely, I mean, that's kind of a good way to look at it too. That would be like a spacecraft landing here, I mean, well, a little bit of a stretch.
Yeah, a little bit of a stretch. But in their minds, comparable. Because think about how they live their lives. They've never seen technology
at least understood technology. They might have seen it in the sense of like, you know, a plane passing by or something.
But they've never looked at a cell phone.
Could you imagine if they saw like some shipwreckage or something like that? And if,
Do you think they'd explore it? I don't think they would.
I don't know.
I don't think they'd explore it. I think they would make everyone stay away from it because it's a foreign thing. They don't want anyone messing with it.
But what if it doesn't go away? At some point.
Someone's going to eventually.
Yeah.
Yeah. But what are they going to do to that person? They might kill him. Tribe leader might kill him.
Oh, so there's a suppression of a governing body.
Exactly. Because even with indigenous tribes, there's still a leader.
True.
Everyone looks to someone for a leader.
Just real quick, we are not an expert in indigenous tribes. We are just asking questions. Yeah, no, that's fair to assume. I mean, shoot, even like monkeys still have an alpha male. You know,
Yeah,
there's still somebody who's
in their pack.
in control.
They have a pack, and there's one that they look to. That one moves, they all move until someone throws that one over, and then that's the alpha male. So there's always the governing tribe. There's always someone in charge, essentially. They always look to a leader because they need someone to follow.
So does the leader suppress it due to control, or does the leader suppress it because of just lack of knowledge and just don't mess with it? That's a good question.
I think it's they don't want to give the freedom to their tribe.
Oh.
The freedom of the knowledge. They don't want them to know. Because then they're easier to control.
Even in indigenous tribes?
Yeah. I think that can boil down to anything.
Okay. Like a wolf pack too, kind of thing?
Yeah.
Huh.
Also fear of the unknown. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Fear of the unknown, for sure. But I think it's easier to control those that don't know.
No, that's absolutely true. No. If you give somebody a lack of knowledge and the need to survive, well, they're pretty occupied.
Yeah. If you give a person an inch, they're going to take a mile too. So
that is true. That is true.
So if you let this person in your tribe go explore the shipwreck, they're going to take that and run. They're going to tell everyone about it. Everyone's going to know about this shipwreck. They're going to tell them about what they seen on it, and they're going to think of where they can go from there.
Broadening that out, I mean, that kind of goes to like the Roswell crash in that sense of getting some sort of technology that we didn't create, or our civilization or tribe or however you want to look at it,
and the government tried to hide from us.
That is true. So literally the example you just provided in the governing body suppressing that need. Now, I guess the question is in, kind of more of a hypothetical, hard to really answer this unless you really deep dive into it. But, was it for their own understanding or to suppress it? I mean, is there some sort of control mechanism involved there? Or are they trying to understand before they let the information out?
I feel like it's a control thing. They don't want to lose control. Because you don't know what's going to happen once you lose control.
True.
When you are in control of a situation...
There's that fear of unknown.
Yeah. You're in control of a situation. You can control where that situation is going and what's happening with something if you're in control. The second you lose control, what's going to happen? You don't know.
Right.
You could be murdered. In the sense of an indigenous tribe, you could be murdered.
True.
You could be exiled, just overthrown in general. There's all sorts of things that could happen. There could be an extreme hate for your entire bloodline if it goes down to the right point, because you've been keeping off this entire tribe for so long from any sort of outside source.
Yeah, no, that's interesting perspective there. I think I do agree. In one of the things I kind of struggle with too, in thinking that I feel like at a certain degree you deal with so much intellect at a certain degree when you're working with all this reverse technology of whatever it is, that they might not be the best communicators. So in order to get that information actually disseminated in a understandable conceptual way that the actual common general people can absorb, probably is almost as difficult, if not more, than actually reverse engineering the thing that you're reversing.
Yeah, definitely. It would be hard. It would be hard for me to explain to the leader of an indigenous tribe or anyone in the tribe about a cell phone.
Yeah, or good luck with the internet.
or even talking to them. They don't speak English.
Okay.
They don't.
Well,
they have their own language.
I guess the only difference there is that would be kind of similar to an alien coming down here. You know what I mean? Versus like literally just the like you have the engineer of the tribe. You know what I mean? And they go find the motherboard of the computer or something, and they bring it back, and they somehow understand what it's working with, kind of thing. And then that idea, but then from that point, that person trying to communicate it to the rest of the tribe in some sort of way that they can understand, because they didn't look at it, they didn't study it, they weren't the ones putting their hands on it, kind of thing. And then not only that, but getting them to believe it, because they've been projected to this environment of this, however it is. And again, I'm not an expert in Indigenous Tribes, so I don't know how their society lives, but I'm assuming it doesn't involve the internet or anything like that.
No,
so
there's no way.
Even those words and whatever their language is, how do you communicate that?
Yeah, how do you get that across?
Right. I mean, you're almost making words then, which can happen, but still.
Which, I mean, we've done forever. That's
right. Still to this day.
Yeah. Every day there's hundreds of new words, I'm sure. But yeah, the communicating that with assuming they have a minimal language that they can grasp from, it's hard to how they couldn't communicate that in a proper way that wouldn't scare people.
Right. And limited in the sense to their own experiences.
Yes. Yeah.
Because, of course, language can develop too. But
yeah, but it's essentially us taking hundreds of years of technology that they've never seen and dropping the most advanced things on them, whereas they didn't grow with us.
Right.
So we don't view it as much because we've been watching it grow. We've been growing with it and such, but they didn't grow. They would just be attacked with it.
Right. And not to like minimalize or anything like that, but they grew in their own way in the sense of like, I guarantee you there's certain things that they could do that none of us are able to do.
Absolutely.
And I watch these videos sometimes on the internet, and there are these primitive technology kind of things, and they like make these houses and stuff in these huts and these like these moats and stuff, and it's absolutely ridiculous. And they, of course, it's an edited video, but they make it look so easy in the sense that this is just
but they're doing it with like knowledge. A rock.
Oh yeah, no, you're right.
It's insane. Like
that's the best part. Yeah. They literally have one, if not two, at the max tools, and they're not like a hammer and stuff. It's literally just like a blade that can dig into the dirt, and it's
a blade that they made out of something they found in the earth. They didn't like take it to a mill to chop it down and sharpen it. No, they found it. They took it across the rock and went.
Yeah, no, it's crazy. So, but the technology aspect in the sense of what we perceive as computer stuff, you know what I mean?
Yeah, technology is different for them.
Even that process, primitive technology, you know what I mean? But it's more of its genre of technology in its own specific.
The ways they've grown is in like trapping and stuff like that, I'm sure. And like their weapons.
Yeah.
Like
spearing.
Yeah, I'm sure they have some of the most innovative traps to catch animals and such to eat. Yeah. Whereas we don't have to. We go to a supermarket, so we didn't grow in that. Sure, some people hunt, but for the most part, not. We're not like that.
The big thing is there's a very small percentage of people, and I don't want to exclude anybody, that's why I say a very small percentage of people who have to actually rely on hunting here. You know what I mean? Yeah. Most people hunt just because, well, one, it's their choice. Mm-hmm. But there's not that necessarily absolute need. I mean, it helps for sure. Some families, it kind of, I know in my own family specifically, it carries some, the families through the winter, you know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely.
And that's a big financial benefit to them in the long run.
Yep, for sure.
But if they needed to, they could go to the store, you know, in that aspect. But yeah, no, that's an interesting point.
Yeah.
Their food, how much is, obviously it's, they're not like getting packaged milk or nothing like that, but like their digestive system and their whole nutrition, I don't know, that'd be interesting. Could you imagine a doctor doing like blood work and stuff on?
It'd be insane.
Yeah, like
just they would probably have an absurd amount of diseases
coming around them, you know what I mean? Like us exposing them to them.
Yeah, but in the way that they eat, their lifespan is probably pretty poor in comparison to ours.
That's an interesting thought. Do you think they have elders? Like 90-year-olds?
No. highly, highly unlikely.
Huh.
Even with us, it's very rare for someone to become 90, and that's even with all the
That was just a
medicinal
number I threw out there.
Yeah.
But they don't have a McDonald's or anything like that.
No, that's true. They're eating
Whole
natural
foods, natural foods
they're
there
eating
that
natural things rather than like what we're eating, but we also have medicine,
Yeah.
which is a large benefit to our ability to survive longer.
True.
To an extent, of course.
But that would be interesting to think about in the sense of like what diseases do they not have that we have because of our environment, and what diseases do they have that we don't have because,
tons.
you know what I mean?
They've probably never been exposed to like chicken pox.
Interesting. Do you think they get the flu?
I don't know, because flu is viral, correct? It's a virus.
We are not a virologist or any sort of
No.
way, but just an interesting thought of what diseases they might get or we might not get, but yeah.
But they probably, when they get sick, they probably die for the most part. A cold to them would probably be severe.
What about herbal medicines? Do you think they're involved in that maybe?
Sure. Yeah,
To a
definitely.
degree?
I mean, of course, they found their way to cure things.
But then again, though, they're still subjected to the limited resources they have on their island. you
Yeah,
know?
definitely. Because you think about it, they have like 1,000 people on there. So
Something
there's
like
not
that.
a lot of people. It's not a whole lot. So it's most likely a small island. They can only have so many things in the climate that they're in. So they're very limited to what they can have.
I love how we started this conversation with like the most advanced like beings out there to like the least technologically advanced beings.
Yeah, it's like the it's like a timeline
kind of there
from
Go
the end to the
reverse.
beginning. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's interesting. It's interesting to think about in that sense of the same but different.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, to their core, I imagine they're very similar to us, though. Would you agree?
Yeah.
I'm sure
And its core principles in the sense of like,
morals.
yeah, good, bad.
Yeah, they believe there's good and bad. They know, to an extent, know
I was
right
going to say,
from
I
wrong.
think there's cannibals tribes out there.
Who's to say that's wrong?
Well, okay, so if you're accepting that they perceive that as right, that's fine. But
It's
then
their
we wouldn't
good and bad.
Then we wouldn't share the same good and bad in those regards.
No, but it's their morals.
So they have their own set.
Yes, but they still have that human thought of what's good and bad.
They just are able to. Is it shared? I guess would be my question.
Within their tribe? Or something of that sense?
Within all of us, is it the same? It would be okay. I see what you're getting at. It would be the same within their tribe.
Yes.
But as far as others, versus like kind of what I'm getting at is, America is still relatively the same morals in principle to other countries.
Yeah.
There's obviously differences in laws and regulations
of
and all
course.
sorts of stuff. But for the most part, I mean, you don't steal from people, you don't kill people, you know what I mean? That stuff. Like the core principles of good and bad.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, it's hard because a lot of them, they support things that we wouldn't, I suppose. So I don't think every single principle would line up. I don't think all of our morals would line up.
I'd have to agree.
Sure, they may think that like killing isn't okay,
Right.
but there's some tribes that probably believe like rape is okay. So no, it doesn't line up exactly.
Gotcha.
So no.
I mean, I hate to say it, but with 1,000 people, you're kind of limited.
Yeah,
on
absolutely.
relationships.
Absolutely. So obviously incest is a huge thing, but incest was also a huge thing in Egypt. That was
Fair.
a huge thing. They believed they wanted to keep the bloodline pure was a huge thing with Egypt. They wanted to keep all of the kings and such in the same family line. They weren't trying to bring other people in, so they were having relations with their family because they looked at other people as lower than them.
Yeah, no, in a weird way. I mean, not that we're experts in any sort of royalty kind of history or anything like that, but that's still kind of similar to a point today in the sense of bloodlines of keeping it within certain royalty members. Now, does it still happen with families? Again, I don't know. Maybe
Right.
question to ask. Question to ask there. But I would certainly think it's safe to assume that within other royalty families, to at least keep that kind of what they think to be a precious bloodline intact.
Yeah, even if it's not necessarily the same family, they also want royal blood though.
Right.
So
right.
like
I guess they go to like arranged marriages and stuff.
a prince would also still want a queen.
Right.
Or
Princess or whatever, how it works.
Prince would want a princess.
So we got Queen Elizabeth and Prince Harry. So like, where does the princess come involved, or is that more so just like a Disney marketing thing to like?
It was just Disney marketing.
Because you know what I mean. Like you don't, like you got, do you have Princess Meghan? You know what I mean? Like Prince. I mean, I don't know much about the royalty, and I don't mean to sound insensitive in any sort of way or just lack of knowledge. I mean, please help us figure this stuff out if you know. But you know what I mean? Like, where's the princess come into play?
Yeah, because essentially it's the prince getting married to someone.
Or would that be the daughter of the... That would have to be the daughter, right?
Maybe. I'm not sure.
Me neither. But anyways,
but
it's that whole idea of keeping bloodline intact is super strange.
Yeah, absolutely. But that's been a thing for many, many years. Many civilizations have always thought that. Also, there hasn't always been such an access to people such as we have now.
That is very true, or at least not in the way that we know of it.
Yeah, but
carrier pigeons still went across the world. No,
yeah, but in the way that we are rising in numbers, there's a lot more options.
Yes.
So there's many different family lines and such.
Right.
Which, if we want to get real, we all have some blood within each other.
To a degree, when you take it back far enough, no doubt.
Yeah. It all started from somewhere. So
yep.
Which is hard to conceptualize. It's hard to think about. But
yeah,
absolutely possible. Like it, to an extent, we all started from somewhere. So there has to be my blood within someone else's that I've never met and I never will meet.
Got to go to do that one of those gene pool things and see what .0000001 whatever.com thing or whatever.
Yeah.
But crazy.
I mean, they'd be so minute they wouldn't even be able to trace it.
Right.
Especially with the way our bodies have changed over time and all that. So
yeah, no, for sure. That's interesting though.
But back then they didn't have 8 billion people.
Right.
There was a very limited amount of people, as far as we know anyway. Obviously, they didn't really start tracking how many people there are until...
That's actually a good thought. Do you think there might have been more people? Well, no, because it's harder to live back then. You know what I mean? So
they were dying at a much younger age.
But then again, though, at least as far as numbers go, in a period of time, because of that fact that a lot of them did die for more reasons than we would today. I don't know if I can accurately make that statement. Again, I'm not an expert in any of this, just more so thoughts. But they would have to have more children. You know what I mean? Just in general. You just have to have more kids to keep that whole generation thing, in line. So, you know what I mean? With that being said, instead of people, I don't know what the average kids nowadays, it's somewhere around 2, or at least I thought it was, might be dropping a little bit. But, back then you'd have 7, 10, 12.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that'd be interesting to think about as far as the population of that period of time. And of course, we're at like what? Almost
7.8 billion.
7.8 billion?
Yep, 7.8 billion. And it's actually been slowing down.
Huh.
Yeah, we haven't been growing as much. Because if you think about it, a lot of people are actually reproducing less. Think about China, for instance.
Yeah.
They're only allowed to have X number of kids.
Is that still... I know that was a law...
I'm not sure if that's still a thing.
I know that was a law for a period of time.
For a period of time. I'm not sure if it still is, but our numbers have actually kind of leveled off. For a while there, it was like consistently 2 billion, 2 billion, 2 billion was like over 10 years, I want to say.
Okay.
In the last 10 years has been like 1.8 billion.
Gotcha.
So it's actually lowering. And a lot of people I know don't want to have kids. They don't want to have more kids because they don't want to bring kids into the world that we live in.
That's fair to assume. The world is a little rough right now, no doubt. But not only that, because I don't necessarily want to take the approach of being afraid or fear to bring, a life in.
Yeah.
But do you think that also might be resemblance to living standards? Though it seems things are getting tougher, let's be honest, to a degree. when you're talking about what indigenous people are having to do, it's fairly relatively comfortable and easier to live. I mean, people still do dumb things, but it's easier to survive.
Life is easy.
Yeah.
It's not hard. We have electricity, we have running water, we have access to all the utilities.
Thankfully, still.
We have the freedom to work and purchase things and such. So yeah, it's absolutely easier to live than it once was. But we're actually, as humans, our average age is actually pushing up higher and higher right now, which could be said is bad for our long-term future, the longevity of humans.
You mean we're getting older, or average life expectancy is getting higher?
Our average is the 7.8 billion.
Oh, our population.
As a population. Yes.
Gotcha.
Our average age is still about the same as it has been. I think it's like 72 or 77. One of those two. But so right now there's 7.8 billion humans on the earth that are accounted for.
Gotcha.
And it's gone in the past handful of years from like 28 to 33, I believe. It's like 33.4 is currently the average age, which means...
Oh, got you. People are living longer. Or there's more population of...
There's more population of older people.
Got you.
Because not enough people are reproducing to bring that average down.
I see where you're getting at now.
Which...
The reverse of a baby boomer.
Yes, which can be also what happened. So there's more older people, which means more people are going to die at one span of time.
Over a period of time, but yeah.
Yeah, so like over 10 years, there's going to be more deaths than births because the average age is going up.
That makes sense to me.
So but I mean, once that's seen, I'm sure there'll be a change. I don't fear an extinction.
There'll be a PSA to start making babies.
Actually, Elon Musk said that. I know we keep mentioning Elon Musk, but he actually said that more people need to make babies.
That's crazy.
There's a whole thing where he said that like more people need to reproduce, so we don't have this thing where there's a fall off of people. Yeah. Because I feel like if there is a big number drop in the amount of humans on Earth, there will be a huge mass fear that's spread across people. If we were to drop from 7.8 billion to 7 billion, I feel like there would be a big fear of like, oh no.
Yeah, that's actually strange to think about. Wow, I never really thought about that in the perspective of numbers, but not only that, I mean, we have what we have now to a degree. I mean, I know there's certain questions as far as unemployment and stuff like that, but putting that all aside, to a degree, we have what we have now because we are working with the people and what the resources we have now. So if we lose some of those people and some of those resources, you're not going to have the people to fulfill some of those jobs, so you're going to have to almost like scale down kind of thing, you know, because you're not going to have the people to sustain the things that were there before to make it sustainable.
Yeah, not to mention people in their career fields will fall off, which opens the ability for younger generations to come in and fill those spots.
But you have to have that younger generation.
Yeah, you have to have the younger generation, and they have to have the knowledge to do it.
Yeah.
So if they want to take over that position is a thing, because realistically a lot of our elders are extremely smart.
Oh no, absolutely. I think that's the one thing that America kind of has wrong a little bit is whatever the intentions are, you can, ask your own questions for that. But we kind of have a negative perception of our elderly versus like other cultures who have such a high esteem, respect for their elderly because of the experiences and stuff that they went through, that there's this, true value of knowledge and information that they can pass on with a different perspective that we now have in our environment, because of course that has changed over time. But we don't necessarily have that best idea, you know what I mean, about how we treat them.
And also, I think there's also a level of disrespect from elders to the younger generation.
Oh, that's fair to assume as well.
I think a lot of them don't want to pass on their knowledge.
Oh,
I'm not saying that is all. I don't think they all are just trying to like hoard this knowledge or whatever. But I think there's a level of disrespect to the younger generation because of their ways of life, whatever it may be, which makes younger people think, I don't want to be like that. So I don't want to
Gotcha.
learn those things. I'm not going to be that person. I don't want to be that person.
Maybe, yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. And I kind of, as you were saying that, I kind of like a disconnect between the ability of to be able to relate for things.
Absolutely.
And that kind of associates in a form of disrespect because it's just a clear ability to understand. And that kind of gets negatively culminated in that idea.
Which I feel like is a mass misunderstanding in between the two.
Yes.
I feel like there shouldn't be this disconnect. So right here, these two people are, but right here's a wall. And it's not a big wall.
Yeah.
It's not a big wall. It's a little thing that could easily be torn down, and they can get together and make ultimately an entirely better world
Yes.
if they were to work together.
Definitely takes both sides. So change is hard to kind of accept, you know what I mean? And we were just talking about like the exponential change that we've undergone and just being, 90s babies. Do you think that might also kind of impact that disconnect as like, change happened so quickly to such a degree? Literally within 2 generations. The amount of change that's happened. And then you can span it out to 3 generations, grandparents and great-grandparents kind of thing. There's so much that has changed that disconnect is almost inevitable because how can you?
They don't understand.
And how were they able to? You know what I mean? Because they didn't...
They didn't grow up with it as we did.
Right.
Our grandparents didn't grow up with technology. They didn't have cell phones and such until they got to a point where we already had them.
Right.
So obviously, at a younger age, you're capable of learning so much faster because your brain is a sponge and you absorb all the information. It's hard to teach an old dog new tricks.
Yeah. Not impossible, but it's hard.
No, yeah, it's harder. You got to work with them more.
Yeah. No, that's fair. And then, you can only hope that same idea and knowledge is reciprocated in their own sense, Because that's ultimately what it takes is just a formed perspective of a lot of other perspectives. You know?
Yeah.
Your own perspective formed by a lot of other perspectives. Maybe I should word it that way. But yeah, no, that's interesting. I kind of wish we did have that culturally a little bit more.
Yeah, that disconnect really hurts us, though.
It generally across the board, of course. Yeah. No, I agree.
What we could achieve with our arms locked together would be ridiculous.
Unimaginable.
Yeah.
Almost
literally.
more unimaginable than some of the things we were talking about earlier.
Yeah.
In the sense of, anti-gravity and such like that.
Yeah. Aliens just teleporting with the flick of their fingers. Yeah.
Right. Flick teleportation.
The change is possible, but
absolutely.
And it's coming. It'll happen.
I agree. There's definitely that feeling of, especially I think, not to reference too much on this, but dealing with the whole idea of quarantine and isolation, there's almost this thirst or hunger for human connection,
Absolutely.
whether that be physical or just communication sense or however you want to put it. There's like this desire to kind of be more interactive and kind of hopefully that transpires into more of a community growth idea,
Yeah, which... the disconnect needs to be eliminated.
Yeah.
Because there's a disconnect. It's not just older and younger.
No.
It's over everything. It's over cliques that people may have. It's over
thoughts or ideas.
Ideas, looks. People are incapable of coming together on them and thinking, maybe not thinking in the same way, but hearing somebody.
That open-minded sense, that idea. Yeah.
Which
everybody's capable of.
Yeah, everyone's capable of it, and it just has to happen. But some people need to realize they're not always right, or the other person isn't always right. That people need to accept that, and it's okay to be wrong.
This is there's definitely liars out there, no doubt. I'm not going to throw that away. But there's always this sliver of thought for me that person is right because they're right in their own perspective of how they were product of their own environment. Yeah. It's not necessarily right to me. Now, there's obviously fundamental truths. You know what I mean? I'm not trying to say that there's certain wavering on foundational ideas, but a lot of times it just takes another perspective to provide a different idea on the same topic, and you can alter whether it change or more so kind of direct it in a more universal understanding. And everybody's able to provide their own path.
In a beneficial way.
In a very beneficial
everybody.
way, of course. So, I don't know, man. That actually seemed like a pretty positive, nice thing to end on there, at least for this little mock podcast.
Yep, that's good.
So again, we appreciate you being a part of this, Brendan, and myself. This is our first one. This is a little mock podcast that we're going to see what we can work with. But
yep, maybe this will get uploaded, hopefully. And if you're listening to this and then you happen to make it this far, thank you for staying. Even if you just skip to the end, we appreciate you. Thank you. Have a nice day.